Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. This is bonus episode 16 and part of a 30-day podcasting challenge where I'll be releasing an episode daily through the end of the month, November 2018. I'll still be releasing regular weekly episodes, and this coming Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving, I have a special episode that I recorded that's about how to get through the holidays. I have a special guest on and we talk about some of the challenges that come up for HSPs and a number of hints and tips to make it easier. So I'm just really thinking ahead to the holidays and how difficult it can be for HSPs because there's so much activity and obligation. And although it can be a very joyous time of the year, it can also be really challenging. So I told you that I'm simplifying the podcast in order to make it sustainable to get through the end of the month. And what I want to talk to you about today is the power of asking. So there's a podcaster, her name is Chell Hamilton, and she has a podcast called Meditation Minis. If you haven't listened to it, I would really recommend that you check out her podcast. They're very short meditations. I listen to them. I recommend them to most of my clients. They're just amazing. And in 2017, I went to Podcast Movement when it was held in Anaheim. I didn't have the money to go, and I had contacted them much earlier, asked if they had any working scholarships. Oftentimes for conferences, you can go and pay a reduced fee and you work the conference, but you still get to listen to the speakers and the presentations. And at the time, they didn't have anything, and I just let it go. And then I got contacted by them that a slot had opened up, so I was able to go. At this point, I didn't even know what I wanted to do a podcast about, and although I'm an extrovert and I thought I was an introvert at the time, as soon as my job was over, I really just wanted to go hide somewhere, but I would force myself to stay out in the common area and tell myself, like, you're just going to talk to 2 people or you're just going to talk to 3 people. So while I was doing one of my, you're just going to stay here and talk to 2 people, I met Chell Hamilton. And she told me about her podcast. She was incredibly encouraging. I really had no idea at that time what I was going to do. So this is 2017. So we're a year and a few months later until I launched a podcast. So there was a pretty big gap of time, but she was incredibly kind. I started listening to her podcast. I've told all kinds of people about it. So jump forward to recently. I was thinking that I would love to have an episode of hers to play over the holidays for you all. And I wondered if she was going to do anything. So this morning, I've told you that there's just a lot going on for me right now. And that's my alarm to remind my son to wake up to go take my mom somewhere. There's a lot going on right now, and I'm not really in a place where I can share much about it because it has to do with other people and it's not my story to share. But I'm feeling a lot of responsibility, and there's just more things that are going on than I feel comfortable that's good for my little HSP sensibilities, and I'm just doing the best that I can. So this morning I was in bed procrastinating getting up because I'm just a little on the overwhelmed side, and I was looking on Facebook and Chell had posted something, and I thought, why don't I just message her and ask if she's going to put anything out for the holidays and if I can have permission to play it on my podcast. So through Messenger, I sent her a message and asked and said, and if you're open to being a guest, I would love that. And within a second, she responded and said she would be thrilled to create a special meditation just for you guys. And she would love to come on as a guest. I think because of all the stress that I'm under, I just started to cry. I just need a little bit of a release. So we had a back and forth exchange. And so I hesitated in sharing this because if something comes up or scheduling wise, it doesn't work and we're not able to do it. I hate telling you guys about things and then not being able to come through, but the power of the story just felt really important to share, that the power of the ask, and that had I not asked about a work scholarship for Podcast Movement, I wouldn't have been there. had I not had the courage to just reach out to Chell and ask, hey, is there any chance that you'll have a meditation I can use? And would you be interested in being a guest? And sure enough, here she is. So we often think that we can't have the things that we want. And often we ask and we don't get it. And that's okay too. We have to be okay with knowing that we can put out what we want. We may not always get it, but there is so much power in asking. And it's funny, as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about something else that I wanted to post something in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and then I thought I probably need to talk to the admin about it. So again, on Messenger, I reached out to the admin and asked, and she offers something very similar to what I was going to try and create on my own. And it's not my intention to overstep. And so through talking with her, we decided that it really wasn't a good idea for me to make the request because it would be in conflict with her page and her business. And I totally get that. However, she asked if I would be willing to be on, she does a podcast and a video show. And so we have something set up this next week to talk and to figure out what we're going to talk about. So there is so much power in just putting ourselves out there and reaching out and taking risks. So in this case, I asked for one thing, I didn't get it, but something else showed up. If there are things that you're interested in, if there are things that you want to ask for, I really encourage you to practice that. I think sometimes we're so afraid of the overwhelming feelings that we're going to have of either disappointment or frustration or anger, because sometimes we have strong feelings that it keeps us from asking for what we want. And yes, sometimes you will feel frustrated, angry, and disappointed. There's something about getting clear about what it is that we want. And then when we don't get it, it can be really hard. And I think it's easier sometimes to not identify what we want, because then we don't have to deal with the hope, the expectation, the disappointment, the frustration, and the anger. But the truth is, we can learn to tolerate all of those feelings. And to the capacity that we can allow room for any feelings, whether it's frustration or disappointment, we also create room for that depth of capacity for joy. So this morning when Chell responded, I started to cry and I just told her, yippee. I mean, I was touched and sad and exhilarated at the same time. So having lots of feelings and having strong feelings and deep feelings doesn't have to be a bad thing. When we learn to work with them, it's just energy and it moves through us. No, it doesn't feel good when we're having hard feelings and uncomfortable feelings. No, it's not fun when our energy goes down because we're drained or we're having intense feelings. And we also have the capacity to feel so much joy and love and excitement and creativity. And if we tap down what we feel are undesirable feelings, we also don't have room for the joyful feelings. So I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself. I get all passionate and then I just say the same thing over and over. Anyways, what I would love to do is to ask you to think about what is one little thing that you would like to ask for. It could be something simple as asking someone to do something small for you, asking for a favor, asking for time with someone. I'm not coming up with anything that sounds astounding, but just think about one thing and think about if you're willing to do that. What are your concerns? What's the worst thing that you think will happen? And do you think you can tolerate that and live through it? What's the best thing that could happen? I just would encourage you to challenge yourself, because I really feel like the universe is here to support us. And often the negative stories from our past keep us from seeing the world in a new way. And I really do believe that the universe is here to support us. And I would just love to see everybody get a little bit more of what they want. So since I'm not doing an intro and an outro, if any of this resonates with you, if you're struggling with asking and you want to learn more about this, go to my website, patriciayounglcsw.com. If you want to work with me, we can see if we're a good fit. We have a Facebook group called Unapologetically Sensitive. If you want to reach out and tell me what is it that you're wanting to ask for, what are your fears, what comes up for you, you can contact me through unapologeticallysensitive.com. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.